Hey folks, Mobile Geezer here with this week's Geezer Bits for Sunday, August 19th, 2018. So I guess I should start with a disclaimer. I don't do these Geezer Bits every week to try to give you every bit of important tech or mobile news that's come out during the week. I pretty much find the stories that interest me and I think may interest you, and whatever I come across that I might find interesting. So first up, it was reported this week that the upcoming OnePlus 6T, which should be out in October, will have their very first major carrier deal with T-Mobile. And it's a big deal because it's very hard for Chinese phone companies to break into the US market. And typically, if you get a carrier deal, you have your entrance into the US where the public can walk into a store and see your devices and pick them up and play with them. So this is kind of a big deal for OnePlus, and as a OnePlus 5T owner, I like the idea of being able to walk into a T-Mobile store and pick up a OnePlus 6T. So since T-Mobile is my carrier, I'm pretty happy about the deal. So I've written a story about it at mobilegeezer.wordpress.com, and I'll link it in the description. So in a kind of related topic, I ran across a story on The Verge called Oppo's latest phone has the best notch yet. And you can see from the picture, yeah, it's a pretty nice looking phone, and the notch seems very non-intrusive. So I'll link that story from The Verge in the description also, but it looks like it might be a pretty nice phone. It's a budget phone for sure with a MediaTek processor, but that notch is like the best looking notch I've seen so far. And how is it kind of related? Well, Oppo and Vivo are both owned by BBK Electronics, and OnePlus is a subsidiary of Oppo. So very often what you see on an Oppo phone ends up on a OnePlus also. For instance, the OnePlus 6 has the same screen and notch design as the Oppo R15 Pro. So the question becomes, will the OnePlus 6T have the same notch? I think it might be pretty attractive to a lot of people if the 6T does have a notch and that's what it looks like. So we'll have to wait and see, but kind of a related story. Next up, another article I ran across, this one on PC World, top 5 things your car knows about you. And those things are your home address, recently navigated locations, your phone's contacts, emails and text, and the speed, braking, and seatbelt use in what's commonly called car black boxes, like airplanes have. Now there's some misconceptions that this data is going everywhere and can be grabbed by anybody, and you have a lot of control over what your car sees of your data, and just an interesting article pointing these things out. So I will link up that article from PC World also. Then I ran across an article in CNET, the EU reportedly ready to act against tech companies over terror content. So it seems like the EU hasn't been happy with the voluntary approach by tech companies to delete terrorist propaganda and extremist violence. So they're planning to make some moves to institute fines for content not deleted within an hour of posting under draft regulations. And that's due to be published next month. So I just thought, wow, I actually agree with the EU for a change. So I'll link that story below also. And the last story I had this week also on The Verge, U.S. reportedly pressuring Facebook to break Messenger's encryption over an MS-13 investigation. So the U.S. is actively investigating MS-13, that group that does all kinds of heinous acts and commits all kinds of crimes in the U.S. And it seems that MS-13 has been using Messenger to make contacts and phone calls, and the U.S. wants Facebook to unencrypt that data so they can get their hands on it. This is much the same as when the FBI and Apple butted heads about the iPhone belonging to the perpetrators of the 2015 San Bernardino, California shooting. So the government wants a wiretap of ongoing voice conversations by one person on Facebook Messenger. I assume it's an MS-13 member, but Facebook is kind of fighting them on it, so they're going back and forth. Of course, this is a very touchy political subject with privacy concerns, and I'm usually on the side of Facebook, Apple, whoever, in protecting our privacy. But of course, there are crimes being involved here, and really, really bad crimes. So we'll have to see how this comes out. In the case of the FBI and Apple, the FBI found somebody else to get them access to what they wanted. But just an interesting story. And of course, in this world where terrorists and gangs are using social media to keep in contact, naturally the government wants to get a hold of the data from these people committing criminal acts. So it's an ongoing story. I'll try to keep you updated. So that's all I had for this week. As always, comments are welcome, and thanks for watching. Yeah.